Megaman X was developed by Capcom, and what's really interesting about this is that its introduction has like some kind of login, which makes it pretty cool and pretty interesting. For it's a game, it was actually the very first Super Nintendo game it would ever be released on the Mega Man history games. After the login is done, you actually get to look at Mega Man X, or later on as everybody starts calling him, just X. I remember when I was a kid, I always enjoyed playing this. I always played this a lot on the emulator, but now that I have it on the Super Nintendo, it's time to face the real deal. So, let me explain you about this story. Mega Man X takes place in the year 21XX, 100 years later after the original Mega Man 20XX. The only thing is that X was apparently created by Dr. Light as his last project, and what turned out is that X ended up being, I guess you could say, he fell asleep for 100 years, and a scientist named Dr. Kane actually discovered him and used him, well, actually found him, and decided that he should come out because he felt that the time was right. But in the way, Dr. Light leaves a message for anyone who actually discovers X, and that person would be none other than Dr. Kane. But I will tell you, one thing I did enjoy of this game before I start was the intro. The intro theme of the menu game. This was the part that made me enjoy the game so much. I liked it a lot, and it made me have a lot of fun and experience more about Mega Man. So let's start out with the first stage, and before you start, every Mega Man game starts with 8 Robot Masters. But in Mega Man X, you get an intro stage before you fight the 8 villains and then the real villain. This was amazing. Even when I played this, I was really excited. I was so excited to play it that I couldn't stop playing this game after I started playing, and even so, I actually had a lot of fun. There were mini bosses, machines. Most of the villains in the game were based on animals, but not all robots were animals. But apparently they were called Reploids, and the villains were called Mavericks. You meet your very first boss, which the first boss is actually named Vile, which is pretty cool to see that. And what's interesting is that Vile actually hates X. I don't know why he hates X, but all he cares about is to be stronger than anyone else. Okay, so it's impossible to be Vile at that point, but out of nowhere, you hear a sound, and that comes out X's friend Zero. I've always thought his name was Proto Man X, cause Mega Man and Proto Man in the original, but it's X and Zero. So Zero explains to X that he's not powerful yet, but if he unlocks his abilities, he could actually become much stronger than he could be. Well, like I said before, X isn't the strongest in the beginning, but Zero will always cheer him up. Why? Because Zero is X's best friend. So let me explain you who the main villain is. His name is Sigma. He's a Reploid who actually became evil because he felt that X would have been stronger. So he's basically the main villain. Zero also tells X that he could be much more powerful than himself, so that means that X could be much stronger than Zero or anyone or any other Reploid. I think the most difficult thing that ever been done in Mega Man, the original Mega Man X 1 through 3 on the Super Nintendo, which I'm only doing the first one, is mostly the passwords, because you gotta remember all of it. Our first opponent we're gonna face is Chill Penguin. Why? Because everybody loves penguins. I hope, if it's possible, Japan brings internationally cardboard pictures of those anime girls and penguins, just so I can take one and I can actually put it right in my room. I do love everything about this game. The background, the music, the colors, everything about it made it so much good that made me love the game a lot. Apparently there are these capsules, but in there is Dr. Light, so I kinda have a little bit of a theory. Dr. Light's soul must be in those because in every Mega Man X game, everything is Dr. Light. But once the chat uh, Light explains about X, what is this, and basically it's an armor piece. So in Mega Man X you have 4 armor pieces, but it makes it so good depending on which armor piece you find easily. Light explains X that he might be in a war right now, which it's understandable. But for this armor piece, X gets the ability to dash. Yeah, so if anybody asked how did X dash, it's because in Mega Man X1 he never dashed. All he did was run, jump, wall jump. That's about it. But once he gets enters the capsule, he gets the dashing boots. And it's pretty cool because it's a different color. So the first armor is all mostly white color. But enough said, let's face the first villain, Chill Penguin. Chill Penguin is the first boss to ever use ice attacks. Now, for many ice villains I faced in the original Mega Man games, I struggle with that, but Chill Penguin is actually much easier. Did you know that in Mega Man X, the reason that armors were existed because they were mostly inspired, like X's armors is actually mostly inspired by RPG games where you equip an armor. You also get a sweet victory theme, and they actually show you what weapon you get. It's pretty nice to see how cool it is that Capcom actually rewards you after you defeat a boss. But without further said, let's move on to the next boss, which is Storm Eagle. In his stage, it's mostly based on flying, but if you start the game, it actually has some sort of an airport or something. For its ways of the game, it's actually a little bit hard, but it's still much fun, thanks to the dash boots that Dr. Light gave us. Then there's this point where in order to get the helmets of X, you have to blow up some, I think it's gasolines, but I don't know. But I've counted and it was 32 times you used the X Buster. When fighting Storm Eagle, you kind of blow up the ship, so you start the fight, before you start the fight, you just blow the ship. You'll notice that the ship goes much more upper and upper. Shouldn't a ship just stay at its limit? But then again, that's just me. Next up we have is Flame Mammoth. Now this is a really good boss, and it's pretty cool to beat him easily. The easier way to beat him is using Storm Eagle's attack, Storm Tornado. It's a very powerful move if you actually let the Storm Tornado hit him twice. I guess you could say Flame Mammoth is like Gutsman from the original Mega Man 1. Up next we're facing is Launch Octopus. Now his stage is more based on water's level. So yeah, you could say Mega Man X had the first time we get a water stage boss that is different from the original Mega Man. I like the background of the game. It looks like you're actually far away from the ocean. The background just makes it look much more interesting. One of my favorite moments is using Fire Wave on a ship so you can actually destroy it and it falls down all the way to the bottom of the ocean. It's really fun because I always do this every single time I play this stage. So I skipped ahead so I could show you guys something interesting about Mega Man X. So, here's how this works. Step 1, get all E-tanks full. Step 2, get 5 lives. Step 3, lose those 5 lives. But remember, this will only work if you defeat Armadillo. If you haven't beaten it, I don't think it'll work. Once you do this epic performance, now you can get what it seems to be Hadouken. Now you're all thinking, that's only a Street Fighter attack. Well, technically, it's in Mega Man X, so it's now an attack for Mega Man. In order that X can use the Hadouken, which is a one-hit KO, you must use the commands down forward shoots, which was down forward Y. That is how you use the Haidoken. Also, another tip is that you need to have your health bar full. If you get hit, you can't use the Haidoken. Before you head to Sigma's fortress, you can tell that Zero is right in front of you. He actually tells you that he's gonna try to make a distraction to the front, so that way X could enter in a really faster than anyone can. Before you continue on, you have to face again with Vile. You remember how you faced against him in the first one. I mean, at the very beginning. So now it's time to test your skills. Now, there was no way to actually defeat Vile with that armor, but however, when using the legendary Haidoken, it actually pushes him far away. So Vile does the same thing. He paralyzes you, but this time he grabs you, puts you where you're supposed to be, and then, out of nowhere, Zero jumps on him and sacrifices himself to save X. Once Zero gets himself destroyed, then you have to face Vile. Did I mention you that use the Haidoken? After that, you have to run up to see if Zero is alright, but suddenly he is entirely damaged. What happened to him? Obviously, he sacrificed himself. We'll never forget you, Zero. Until Megaman X2. So let's skip a little more. Let's reach all the way to the final boss. So you reach at the top, but for some reason, Sigma comes along with his pet. What is he, Bass or Bass from Megaman? However you want to pronounce Bass, Bass, whatever it is. He mentions to X that he could destroy him, but he lets his pet dog or cat, whatever it is, kill it first. He also calls X a traitor. And thankfully, we have a full health bar. You're probably asking me why. 'Cause we know how to use a Haidoken. So all I have to do to defeat Sigma's pet is just use a Haidoken. Once killing Sigma's favorite pet, Sigma comes down saying that he's very impressive. I mean, what do you expect, Sigma? I also started taking a look and notice, but Sigma looks literally almost like M. Bison from Street Fighter. Here's some pictures of it, and you gotta admit, they both look very similar. Could this mean that M. Bison's descendant is Sigma? You think that Sigma is done, but in reality, Sigma has one more option. Go full power. And this is actually one of the best battles I've seen so far. However, the Haidoken doesn't work on killing Sigma's final form, but using Armored Armadillo's attack, it actually works. After defeating Sigma, Sigma tells you that, why X, why did you betray us? Saying that he was the good guy and we were the bad guy. Look, whose idea is to destroy humans? Only yours, Sigma. So it's mostly your fault for being evil. So it seems that Sigma explains that without his Reploid brothers, what is there left to do? Because he wanted a new age so that humans no longer exist, but Reploids would. Then X, out of nowhere, escapes, but sees Sigma's fortress exploding, falling all the way through the ocean. After the explosion, there's like a text dialogue rising up, which talks about how X looked at Sigma's fortress and how many, everything that just basically happened around him. When I read this, I was really surprised because there's a lot of interesting about Mega Man X1 than the other Mega Man X games. So it explains that the war ended and peace has returned, but for some reason X feels a bit strange. X thought of himself, why did I fight? He'd always wondered why he chose to fight. X had thought of something. Wasn't there another way? Wasn't there another way that we didn't have to destroy each other? X always wants to know where's the true answer. It seemed to he doesn't know where, but the only thing he only knows that his X-Buster may know the truth on why. Where is the truth? Well, X has a lot of questions, but it seems that he has to figure it out the more he keeps on fighting. He has to protect peace, anyways. He is, after all, the hero. But you guys want to know something interesting? Originally, it wasn't going to be Mega Man X. The main character was originally going to be Zero, but according to Inafune, he said that this might have been wouldn't been a good idea, so X was put in his side. So Zero became a side character. And that is why, if anyone has played Mega Man Zero, that is based on the unused concept of Mega Man X. And that's Mega Man X. On a side note, that the game is so much fun, it's one of my favorite titles of all time. Let's be honest, without Capcom, they would have, well, probably Nintendo would have struggled. But as Inafune said, that the blue bomber is blue because of Nintendo, nothing else. Now, at my time right now, I've met some Mega Man haters because it's kind of like a complication, because some people are saying that Sonic is the real blue mascot, but other people are saying that Mega Man is. And to be fair, let's be honest, it's gonna be hard, but we know that Mega Man's superior than Sonic. And I'm glad that Mega Man finally got entered in the new Super Smash Bros. Without Mega Man, we probably would have just been Mario and Sonic. But thanks to Mega Man joining in Smash 4, everything just changed. It blew our minds when we saw that trailer. I am the Clayberry, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys later.